The MTDCNC podcast, sponsored by Langley Alloys, unique metals for demanding applications, providing first-class performance and an international service.
Welcome to the MTDCNC podcast. My name is Rowan Easter-Robinson. I'm a proud member of the MTDCNC team and an engineer with a little bit of experience. Mostly, we've been driving around a lot of factories recently, seeing a lot of different applications. We've got some very special news for you today. We're here at the ETG Technical Centre. We're going to be talking about the machine behind me in a little bit. But first of all, we're going to be talking a little bit about my guest here, who's been very kind to give us some of his time today. A little bit about his background, which is pretty fascinating, and a little bit about the tube bending industry as well, which I didn't know much about until I came on site today, and we saw some of the really interesting components here that go in cars, Ferraris, automotive stuff, lots of interesting stuff. Also, just handrails and chairs. So this is an industry that maybe I don't know much about, and I think maybe I don't know if any of the viewers know much about, but this touches a surprising number of different touch points in our lives. Before we start the podcast, though, I'd like to say thank you to Langley Alloys for sponsoring the MTDCNC podcast. They've got a huge amount of stock in their facility in Stoke in the UK, and also in their facility in Houston in Texas. We're going to be going over to Houston in a couple of weeks to do some filming, so watch out for content coming out on the North American channel and also on the European, the UK MTDCNC channel on the Langley Alloys Texas site. And we've got some more social posts coming out on the Langley Alloys UK site as well. So thank you very much, Langley Alloys, for sponsoring the podcast. So they supply super duplex Inconels, Ferrarium 255, some fantastic high-rated, high-strength, high-corrosion-resistant materials. So thank you very much, Langley Alloys. Okay, let's start the podcast. Wow, Andrew, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yes, I'm Andrew Smith-Hughes. I am the product manager for the Fabrication department for Engineering Technology Group.
Yeah, fantastic. So this is a brand new department at ETG.
Yes, so ETG are known for the precision engineering side of the business, of the industry, and they were sort of looking how to expand. How to expand into the UK and support their customers. They were getting approached by their customers and knowing their reputation about about products that they didn't sell. So they saw, hang on a minute, if you're asking me to sell these products, then maybe there's an industry and there's a gap that I should be filling. So I was taken on board to head up this department of fabrication, and that's what we're now doing. So in 2024, new to ETG, Fabrication department.
Yeah, congratulations. Really exciting times here at ETG. And as young as you look, this is not your first job, is it?
Well, thank you. That's how you young as I look, not as old as I look. I like that. That's fine.
Appreciate it. So you've been around the block a couple of times. You've had in my opinion, quite an interesting background as well, Andrew.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit more about it, as much as you want to tell us about your background.
So left school, joined the Royal Navy as a marine engineer mechanic. So straight into engineering, straight from school. Minimum term is normally 5 years. I did leave after 2 years. It wasn't quite for me, but homesick. Wanted to, obviously.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, well, yes, working away a lot.
Miss my mum's dinners sometimes.
Mum's dinners, cleaning obviously helps, and ironing. But no, and then when I left and came into Civvy Street, bear in mind all I've known straight from school was the Navy. I sort of went into field service engineering for a UK manufacturer of tube bending machines. So I hit the ground running at 18 pretty much on tube bending, and here I am, 18 years on, still selling tube bending machines. And when I went for that first interview looking at this manufacturer, I didn't think I would still be, when you're 18, you're thinking, what other possibilities are there? Am I going to win the lottery anytime soon? And
all those things. Lots of ideas, aren't they?
Yes, but the reality is, no, I'm still here in tube bending. But it has been an interesting ride. The UK manufacturer, unfortunately, in 2008, during the financial difficulties, closed, went to administration, so I had to seek other employment. And the other employment was an Italian manufacturer of tube bending machines. So surprisingly,
yeah,
exactly. And still down this financial route where we didn't know where the UK market was going. I actually had a 2-year placement for this company in Italy, where the company when the machines were manufactured. Spent 2 years over there. Never thought I'd ever come back to the UK. But I did. I came back for a few weeks and ended up meeting my girlfriend, now wife,
In those 2 weeks,
in those 2 weeks, in that little window
just
of coming
flying
to the UK.
back from Milan to meet my future wife and flying
Exactly. It wasn't mail order. Just she wasn't here when I arrived.
You were mail order.
Yeah, maybe I was mail order. Yes, mail order from
I'll
Italy.
pick that one. He looks good.
The Italian stallion. How was she disappointed? And then sort of came back to the UK, and I had that decision of, do I move on to, I think, America or South Africa at the time? And I say, the possibilities with my girlfriend, now wife, was, do I stay or do I go? And I said, well, if we're staying, we've got to make a go of it. And that was 12, 13 years ago now.
Congratulations.
So thank you. And we got an 11-year-old daughter. And then, so I say with the tube bending industry, with that company, I had 11 years with that company. So, and they're seen as sort of the leaders in the industry. Went into sales as COVID kicked in. So obviously COVID kicked in and the world went upside down. A
lot of things changed. A lot of things shut down.
I remember seeing Boris Johnson's announcement.
Address, yeah.
And I turned around and said, well, it's only 3 weeks. That's all I said. It's only 3 weeks. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
People can take holidays and stuff.
Easy to underestimate these things.
Unbelievable. It was 2 years pretty much of the world being closed. So on the return after COVID, where everyone would come back to work and furloughs and things had finished, the employment said, we want you to go back on the tools. Well, I was in my sales role now, and maybe keeping my hands clean was quite nice, and not having to be so hands-on. So I approached VRB Group. VRB Group are a Portuguese manufacturer. They had no UK presence at the time. They were brand new, shiny penny, as you say. And you imagine just after COVID, there's lots of up in the air of, is it going to happen again? Where VRB took a big risk and said, actually, let's run with this guy in the UK. Let's set up VLB. So we did, and 2.5 years, we're doing really well. The company was growing. It got to that point where we needed exponential growth. We were actually more successful. We were victim of our own success. Where things are growing so well that we need to start looking at employment. We need to start looking at the growth of the company. Now, Martin Doyle of ETG had this idea of this growing this fabrication department, so sort of approached me at in an insociable way, or in a relaxed, casual manner, and said, would you consider bringing VRB over to ETG, because we've got this fabrication department we'd like you to be a part of. What we would offer you is this, in reality, is to be able to head this department. We both brainstormed some ideas, and I had to put a business plan together, how I would want to bring them over. And that's what happened. So, we sort of closed things down at VLB the end of last year, but on the intention that we were going to start things up with ETG. So it has been a bit of a ramp down, but now we're on the ramp up, So since starting with ETG in January, we've just hit the ground running. January was signing on VLB. VLB's now on board. We did the Southern Manufacturing Show down at Farnborough in February.
And what was the reception like?
It was really well. We were front of house as well, which is always good. Nice stand.
Nice to be right at the front.
Yeah, we had a lot of some really good leads, which I suppose is what we're all there for, is sales. But a lot of good feedback. A lot of customers coming and saying, "Oh, that machines are impressive." I mean, it's the 4th year of doing Farnborough Show with other companies, and the reception was really well. It went really well. Last year we were there with a machine with a robot loading, which was 5 deep and people taking photographs, but it was more for social media content, whereas this year was more machine focused. So a lot more people more interested in actually what the machine does rather than...
what its capabilities, rather than just something looking really fancy and nice.
Exactly. So, and then in March we've just signed our second principle, which I can't go into too much detail at the moment. Advertisements are about to be released, and it enables ETG to cover all of fabrication. So in 2 principles, VRB being one of them, and the second principle, we're now going to be able to cover the product range that you would see in fabrication, your flatbed lasers, press brakes, tube lasers, even down to guillotines and section rollers, things that you would see in a workshop to things you'd see in your top-end tier 1 suppliers. Yep. So these 2 products now, and they are both high-end products, enables us, but it also works with the ethos of ETG. So, I mean, people that know Engineering Technology Group will know us for Nakamura Tome, will know us for Chiron, will know us for Quasar. Now, these machines are seen as, top end. I would say Rolls Royce, but, they're a customer of ours, so we've got to keep them sweet. But they are the top end sort of products. People would see us and go, that's what we're known for. And to keep that ethos going with the fabrication, what we didn't want to do is take on principles just because they wanted representation in the UK. What we've done is take on principles that we feel we can, use our ethos of turnkey solutions, being the go-to people. We didn't want to just put something in a box, stick our label on it and sell it. We're not known for catalogue selling. What we're known is for problem solving. And with VLB, the success I had over the last 2.5 years was solution selling to customers in the UK.
Absolutely, and that confidence that you've had working with them allows you to make sure that you know that this is the right company to work with.
Absolutely. I mean, 18 years in the industry, I've been working with tube bending, and I would never sell a product just because based on someone's budget. If a customer says to me, this is what I need to bend, and I will sell them the machine that works, it's a solution, it's the right product. If they say, well, actually, so-and-so down the road says he can do it cheap on a cheaper machine, and I'm not adamant on the idea of, no, I'm just trying to take all the money out your pocket. If I go that, I personally don't feel that machine's going to be right. And if they say, well, we're going to go jack the lad down the road, fine. And I have I've probably walked away from more orders than one, but I am known for the orders that I win, not the orders that I lose. And the orders that I win were customers who got a product exactly what they're after, and it does exactly what they said in the tin. And that's what VLB are very good at doing as well. They do with a lot of, 55 decades of experience is in the company, the group, knowing exactly what they look at a drawing, they know what they need to be selling. And the market, as we're probably going to come on to with the automotive industry, the automotive industry used to be, they'd approach someone like us and say, what can you offer? And we would give them, this is what we can offer, and they would work around us. The market's now the other way. It's so customer focused. They will say, no, this is what we want. Can you provide a solution? And a lot of it's very complicated.
Absolutely.
And your standard sizes going.
When you get those demands from automotive, is that generally those demands are isolated to that sector? I mean, how many different sectors do you work in tube bending?
Sectors, honestly, from everything. So from automotive, it's predominantly automotive, 80% of it's automotive, but furniture, aerospace, obviously, is massive. Ministry of Defence, currently, obviously, with what's going on with the overseas, there's a big demand for defence at the moment. We're seeing an uplift in our ETG precision side of things, but also on the tubular side of things as well. These tanks and things need roll cages, and Scout Land Rovers need bull bars and things. Those sort of things, what you wouldn't predominantly look at. You can see something every day. I was telling you a story off camera where I went for an interview years ago for a company called Johnson Controls who make road sweepers, and they said to me at the end of that interview, you'll become a road sweeper spotter, Johnson road sweeper spotter. And every road sweeper I see out there, on the side got Johnson Controls on, and I go, he was right.
Yeah, you can't unsee that anymore, can you?
No, it's like seeing people into Eddie Stobart, they'll look on overhead bridges and write down number plates.
3 points for an Eddie.
Yeah, exactly.
Always.
And then I found that with tube bending. So if I'm at a shopping centre and I walk up a handrail, I find myself checking to make sure the quality of the bend's right.
Make sure the bend's good. It can hold your weight all right. Yeah, not don't mean anything by that, obviously.
No, but also if it's mandrel bent, you can tell. If it's got a swan neck, which is, people in the industry will understand what swan neck and mandrel position's all important. And you do test it, and I've had this story with a few people, and they go, you're right. I went up the handrail at my office the other day, and I was checking the quality of the bend, and that's a weld, so that was an elbow, that wasn't done in one piece. And you do find yourself that in everyday life, to the chair you're sitting on at a restaurant, to a table leg, to to handrails, to when you get in your car, you wouldn't believe the amount of tubes are in a side of a car. The dashboard is held on with a supporting structure of tube. The seat frame you sat on has got tubular components. Your head restraints has got tubular components in. Your oil, your fuel filler lines. That's why it's predominantly it's automotive. There's a lot of components that go inside. But if you imagine, the aircraft carrier, I think the new Dreadnought class nuclear submarine's got 22 miles of bent tube in it.
Wow. All different diameters, all different diameters, gas,
all different
fluid.
Size. Gas, fluid, coolant,
wow.
Fuel, diesel lines, waste lines, obviously your waste pipe that goes through, airline that goes through. It's all done on a bending machine,
22 miles.
22 miles of it. So I'm just hoping those companies all have an uplift of demand for tube bending machines, and I can supply them with a VLB.
Absolutely. And it's clear that without that passion for the tube bending, then you wouldn't be able to meet the demands of automotive customers saying tomorrow, look, I need this tomorrow. What can you do to help me with this? If you didn't have all of that experience, all that knowledge, all that dedication, then you wouldn't be able to make sure that they can make the cars that they can.
And a lot of say typical salespeople. I'm not going to say typical salespeople, that sounds wrong, but salespeople get given this drawing in front of them. They'll just see, okay, OD, the diameter of the tube. They'll go, oh, it's a 50 mil. Oh, you need a 50 mil machine. What they actually won't look at is that's on a 1D bend. So if you were to run a 50 millimeter tube on a 50 millimeter machine on a 1D, you're actually using like 98 to 100% of that capacity of that machine to bend it. Well, in any machine tool, people know that you don't really want to be working up to like 80% of the capacity. So you actually look at a 50 mil tube and go, well, that should be an 83 mil machine or 100 mil machine if it's thin wall material. But you're not going to know that by looking at a drawing. What you do is that experience is to say, well, actually, no, what you're looking to do is extremely difficult, Mr. Customer, and it's not, even though that's a 50 mil machine, you actually need to upscale it and be at a larger diameter. And that's where a lot of people will go on the budgets where they'll say, well, so-and-so down the road says his machine will do it because he's a typical sales guy and has looked at it and gone, well, yeah, it's in my capacity, it's 50 mil, it's 50 mil. Where in reality, when they come to bend it, the machine's dancing around the floor like a wash machine. And you got on a fast run, it's dancing around the floor because
you're working at max capacity.
Because you're working at max capacity.
Okay.
It's like you say about Ferraris. Ferraris do 220 miles an hour. You don't drive down the motorway where you could, but you won't drive down the motorway at 220 miles an hour. But in theory, you can do it. But you do it once. If you're doing it day in, day out, you couldn't. To maintain those speeds, you need like a Formula One car, which are known to doing 300 miles an hour, but they'll do it. And that's the whole aspect with machine tools.
Yeah, you want the machine to be working comfortably in its engineering parameters.
I mean, you work obviously with CNC machines, and when they're milling and turning and machining the way
you don't want that spindle load up to 150%.
No, you don't.
Not all the time, anyway.
You don't want to hear that massive hum or vibration, knowing that something is instantaneous about to damage and get broken.
Yeah.
And that just comes down to experience. You know what spindle speed and things to run on machining centres. I would know what size of machine to sell you if you're looking at different diameters.
It's fascinating. And let's talk about a little bit more about the problems that customers in automotive and also just tube bending in general. What problems are they encountering that mean they want to invest in a machine like this?
Well, with oil and gas, for example, I mean, this particular machine's a left-hand or right-hand machine, where if you've got a lot with oil and gas, there are a lot of components where you have to cut and weld, and for every weld that you do, it needs to be inspected, and then they get vibration tested. So you imagine if you've got 3 or 4 welds and a bit of a very expensive material, I mean, some of it could be £1,000 a metre.
Because you can do super duplex, you can do Inconels, doesn't matter what material, you can bend it.
You can bend it. As long as you've got the tooling of the machine with enough torque to be able to do it. But you can bend it. So you imagine you've got this really expensive material that you're cutting and welding and then having it inspected. The costs, I mean, oil and gas, there's value in it, but the costs are high. A machine like this would be able to keep the material stationary, takes the vibration out of the material. You could have it supported by a robot, you could have it supported by an offloaded table. And a machine like this will bend it all in one piece. So it gets rid of that aspect of cutting and welding. I mean, so if you imagine a figure of like an S bend, for a figure of S, you'd bend 90 degrees, you'd rotate 180 degrees with the carriage, and then you'd bend again. But it means that you are rotating that tube. You imagine that tube's now 4 meters long out the front of the machine.
And it's all bending left, right, left, right.
Yeah, you need a windmill. You need to have the machine up on a stanchion. Well, the good thing about this machine is the material would stay still. So the machine would move around the tube rather than the tube moving around the machine, and that's what this machine is very well known for.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And for those who are just listening to the podcast, we say this machine, we've got a big tube bending machine behind us. It's kind of been the elephant in the room because we've kind of talked around it so far.
It's there,
but it's right there behind us. The really nice the fascinating control as well. I assume this control is in-house as well.
Yes, everything's in-house.
Everything's in-house.
Yep.
So yeah, now we're going to talk about the VLB Group machinery, more specifically the machine behind us. What kind of machine is it? What does it do?
So the machine we've got currently, which is in stock, which is up for sale.
Yeah, we're in stock right now here at the ETG Group.
Exclusive offer.
Only been touched by Andrew a couple of times.
It has, yes. Run some sample tubes off, that's it. No, it's a 53mm OD. So predominantly this machine would do like 35mm 1D. If you were doing like a 3D, which is the central line radius, 3 times the diameter of the tube, you could run this at 52mm if you wanted to. But the machine is predominantly for furniture and for oil and gas. And it's the same about keeping these parts stationary. This is what the machine's for. You don't want to be whipping tube around, having vibrations, which over rotation, under bending. You want things to be as stationary as you can And so the tolerances and springbacks and things are sort of controlled. But this is a 53mm rotary head, so we call it the EB, electric bend, 53mm being the maximum OD, and then RH being rotary head, so EB 53RH.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And being made in Portugal, you don't see, we went to a machine tool builder in Portugal called Cheto that makes CNC machinery. And as far as I'm aware, they were the only Portuguese CNC machine builder. This machine is, again, built in Portugal, and all machined, all fabricated in-house, all assembled in-house, designed in-house, even the control system as well. And it's a really nice-looking machine. So if you listen to this podcast, I would definitely suggest you look out for the videos that are going to be coming up on this machine. Portuguese machine builder. How many are there in Portugal making this kind of machine? It's just this one?
I know of only two companies, Portuguese manufacturers. Yeah. They are of a similar
kind of machine tool.
Yeah, similar kind of machine tool. Yeah. It's tube bending. I mean, the principle of tube bending is bending a tube around a fixed die. So there are many manufacturers out there that can do that, and this other manufacturer does that as well. VRB have our ways of doing it, as everybody else has their way of doing it. I mean, there's some features of the machine with the see-through cabinet, look for electrical components, with the health and safety aspect of things with that. There's the flashing logo on the front being our beacon, rather than having a traffic light system on the top. We do things, they're functional. It's not style over function. It's function and style.
But it is very stylish.
Yeah, I mean, but I suppose some aspects like buying a car, isn't it? I mean, all cars have four wheels and a steering wheel, and they get you from A to B. But how do you want to look doing so? You know, there's a lot of it with your head, because you need to buy a car that's going to drive and do the MPG and things like that. However, you still want it to look cool, you know. So one of the aspects with the VRB machine is it does fundamentally bend tube in a very good manner, and we've got the software and the machine to back up that as well. But on a stylish aspect, I think if it was a beauty pageant, you know, you'd probably say
it'd be up there.
You'd probably say that. Yeah, you know, the light up cabinet with the logo, with this control as well. It's a cool looking machine. You know, my hope, and I suppose everyone at VRB's hope is as well, factories out there will have multiple of these machines in line, and you'd see, you know, art in motion, as we call it, I think.
I love it. And not only does it make a good bend, it looks good too. There's also, I mean, we almost were running out of time, but there's also fully automated cells that you can get from VLB Group.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, it's all done in-house. So we work with Kuka, ABB, Yasukawa. We use those robotic arms. We will supply the loading systems, the unloading systems, checking fixtures. We've got a couple of projects on the go currently in the UK which are fully automated. So the cell is completely fenced off. Inside you've got a very large tube bending machine fed by a robot from an 8-metre loader, I believe. It's an 8-metre length of tube being loaded into the machine via a robot, going onto a checking fixture. You know, it's a lot going on, and we do all that in-house. We don't outsource the automation. All the automation is kept in-house.
And speaking of in-house as well, so VLB will be designing and building the automation cell, but as the fact that you are the exclusive distributor here in the UK and Ireland at ETG, you'll be doing a lot of work in-house here at ETG as well, because you've got a lot of capability here. Absolutely.
I mean, we are looking how we can help the market. So, you know, VLB are fully supportive of ETG. Obviously, we'll say we are the sole suppliers of VLB in the UK, and we'll work a lot with them. And if anything ways we can help them, whether it be for tooling or whether it be checking fixtures. A lot of customers will have like quick go gauges after they're bent apart. They want to check to make sure that part's okay. We can work with our partners at Hexagon Metrology with a measuring arm, or we can have a quick fixture manufactured by Hi4 Work Holding, which is another branch of ETG. So Hi4 can produce these checking fixtures as well for the machine. So we can offer the full turnkey. That's what ETG are all about. You know, we will sell, support, back up, and provide solutions for our customers. That's what we're here for.
Perfect. So I think that's that. We've covered as much as we can in I don't know, half an hour of this machine, the VLB Group, and ETG's brand new fabrication department, which you know the head of.
It's exciting times. There's a lot more to come as well, and it's exciting times. I mean, it's a nice position to be in, to be able to bring a product that is a successful product in the UK, bring it over, plus with our other principle that we've signed, which I'm excited to announce when we can.
Hopefully we're back. If you invite me, we'll come back and do a podcast on your new principle when it gets announced.
I'm sure Martin and I would love to have you. It's fine.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant. And thank you for donating some of your time today as well, Andrew. And telling us a bit about your background as well. It's absolutely fascinating. So yeah, that's been the MTDCNC podcast today here at the ETG Tech Centre on site in the field. After we've been doing a little bit of filming here today on the brand new EB53 rotary head machine that ETG are going to be supplying here in the UK and Ireland. And once again, thank you very much, Langley Alloys, for sponsoring this podcast. Check out Langley Alloys for their specialist materials, Ferrarium 255, Super Duplex Inconels, from their site in Stoke. So thank you very much, Langley Alloys, for sponsoring the podcast. That's been the MTDCNC podcast. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the MTDCNC podcast, sponsored by Langley Alloys, specialists in a wide range of exotic materials for any application for all your engineering needs.